So all these things have crowded the debate, and we are not getting the issues right, or who actually founded the country. Like Nana said, everybody contributed, and then we need to celebrate the diverse contributions of everybody. We need to recognize whatever role that was played by any individual, so that we can move forward. That is not what we need. We need to know, after the independence, what is our level of development? What are we getting out of the independence? What the independence, what is it significant to us? Have we learned any lessons out of that? These are issues that I think we have to be tackling, instead of focusing much on who funded Ghana and who did not. But like I said, it all boils down to people want to take political advantage of it. People want to do all sort of things. And that is why we're having this kind of debate.
And then to get the president of the land to come into this discussion, how relevant is it to the different political sides? Like Kofi said, how relevant is it for one of them to be right? I mean, we all know the stories. We know the UGCC. We know when the CPP came. We know the contributions of each of these individuals. How important was it for the president to come in, and what advantage does it have to any of these sides?
You are, as a woman, I will ask a very simple question. The woman who labors give birth to a child, and she does not take care of the child, and the person who comes to take care of the child, for the child to grow, to become an adult, who has done what? Would you give credit to the woman who gave birth to her, or the one who took care of the child?
The one who took care of the child.
Why? If the child had not been born, would I have taken care of him?
But if I hadn't taken care of the child
So
would
the two of you
died.
have played a role. In that my argument, the two of you, yes, you saved the child's life. You have done well. I gave birth to a child. What of you I didn't give birth to a child? So you see, this argument about the founder and the founders, for me, like I said, is business. Everybody has done something for the independence of this country. What we need, as it were, to use the independence to our economic advancement and the progress of the country. Okay? Like she said, you cannot take away Kwame Nkrumah from political history of this country. In Africa, it's an icon in the whole world, because what is true for that time. Because you know that time there was a struggle about the black race for independence throughout the whole globe. And people like Marcus Harvey, Malcolm X, and Du Bois and co, they all came in. So Nkrumah was also a very vociferous person, advancing for Africanism or Pan-Africanism in this country. So that one, you can't take it away from him. But when you come back home in Ghana, you cannot only give the credit to Kwame Nkrumah. Others have helped. So if you understand it that way, oh, in fact, Nkrumah did, but at least let us give recognition to other people. Then the debate will die down. But if we say Kwame Nkrumah, the sole founder and whatever for this country, that one, people will get problems with you. And the president made that statement, because let me come back this diverse a bit. The president and his people, in fact his family, really suffered under Nkrumah's rule. I don't want to go there. Maybe that prompted him to make that statement. They really suffered under Nkrumah's rule. We are not going to talk about it and get himself from Nkrumah, no. But maybe from that point of view, that's why he made that statement. Okay? So let us not trying to bastardize the president by saying that so and so and so. Because look, the pain is still there. But sometimes we try to go. I sitting down here, my grandmother, when Nkrumah changed currency from 144 pesos to 10 shillings to 84 pesos, I think that's just a 365, and named it CD and put his head on it. My grandmother said, what is Kwame Nkrumah doing? He has spoiled our currency. Not knowing there was somebody who was in the house who was a young pioneer. They reported her to the police, and she was imprisoned. Yes. You see, so people have some pains with. Nkrumah did a lot for this country in terms of social development, but his administration had a lot of baggages that we don't go into them. So me, like I said, I don't, because it doesn't put food on my table. If the government is the founder, is not the founder, I don't care about it, because it doesn't add anything to my life. Okay? We have gotten independence. That's significant. Let's forget about it and forge ahead as a country and stop this unnecessary debate. For me, it's not necessary, as far as I'm concerned. But like I'm telling you, the present family has suffered. Maybe he also suffered. Okay? Yes. So that is why some of the let's simply not lie. Let us not go there. I wish the president did not be that president at all. I wish they didn't make it.
I was thinking the same thing because when the Founders Day was changed to August, I mean the August 4th came in, it looks like a lot of Ghanaians accepted it and we were just quiet. But for him to come back and then make the statement, it looks like it reignited that.
Yeah, it has reignited the whole
yes.
thing. But I, like I said, I wish he didn't make that statement. But he has made it. As whether you agree with me or not, it's your own cup of tea. Okay? But as a nation, let us bury the hatchet. Let us put it behind it and see how we can progress. Because we need roads, we need hospitals, we need jobs, we need other things in this country. Not about who founded Ghana and what I want. Please, the white man divided Ghana into, I think, 3 or so. Gold Coast, the Middle Belt, and the Northern Protectorate. Before independence, that we all came together to become one nation. So, are you saying that the British founded Ghana, or the Dutch, or the Danes, or the Portuguese? They don't come in, okay? So, like you're saying, people had different intentions and ideologies. It's okay. We need independence, but we don't have civil service. Listen to me very well. We don't have engineers. We don't have doctors. We don't have this. Let us slow down. That is what coming into the country. When we get a batch of it, then we can say we are independent. But now, we don't have any of these technocrats or engineers and what have you. That was the viewpoint of the UGCC, that we cannot get independent without some of these things in place. So Kwame, let us take time. Kwame said, no. Let us go, whether you have it or not. You see? So when you are arguing, put everything into perspective. Don't just say. In fact, he set up certain factories and what do you call it? Industries. We do not get the manpower to man them because we don't have the knowledge. Some have to take to Romania, to Russia and co to be trained. But some of them became square pegs and round holes. Okay? And don't forget, the British, when you are dealing with them, you have to be very careful. A very small island country, but they're very powerful all over the world. They control America, they control so many. Listen. So okay. If you say we have control the colony, you are going to better. If you want to side the east, go. We want to hit a snag. And don't forget that even Akosombo Dam was you took a loan from Kaiser from America. It was Kaiser engineers who came and built Akosombo Dam. It wasn't the Russians. You see, so Nkrumah did well, yes, but along the line he also faulted. People don't want to talk about his faults. They want to talk about his achievements. But he faulted along the line. He did well, but he also did certain things wrong. You see? So now, like I'm saying, let us hold the debate. Try and find out. Like I'm saying, there are a lot of SS graduates who have finished investing now. Because when Akufo-Addo introduced the free SHS, some in Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, we have about 2 or 3 batches who are free university, sitting in the house without jobs. What are we doing for them? This must occupy our minds, our hearts, and not this unnecessary debate about who.
Banana history too is important.
Very
right?
important.
It is,
History
but
important.
must we kill ourselves because of history? Must we?
But if you don't know your past, how do you move forward?
Yes.
You need to know your past.
Yes, we know. It is the history is there. Though, in fact, the unfortunate thing is that we didn't write the history ourselves. It was the white man who wrote our history. So most of the things have been distorted because we didn't write our history.
That's why I was going to ask
yes.
that probably the writers of our history have contributed to this debate currently.
It is possible.
If it was written well and we had all appreciated these people, we wouldn't be debating today, right?
And one wonder who saw what happened before independence, when they want to talk, a section was supporting, a section was not, because of political ideology. I know there are some people in this country who know a lot about this country that can put the history down. But depending on where he's coming from, he may twist it.
Yes,
absolutely.
Of course, everybody, yes.
And that is why the president is coming up with his perspective on the issue. We know the historical narrative has been subjective, and it has been influenced by personal biases and perspective on that. So everyone, depending upon where he's coming from, is coming out with a different narrative. That is why I was calling for us to have a balanced understanding of our history. By reconciling the different viewpoints, let everyone's contribution be acknowledged and recognized. By doing that, we will be able to have that balanced history. Like you said, who is writing the history of our country? the person will bring to bear his ideologies, the way he sees things, his relationship with even Nkrumah and co.
Yeah.
So why don't we bring all the viewpoints together so that we will have that kind of arrangement, a history that is so balanced that it will not be looking forward to projecting one and then watering down the contributions of others. That is what we are lacking. And that is what is informing this debate. Until we do that, we're going to have this reoccurring. It will be reoccurring day in and day out because people do not believe the kind of history that we have. They have different perspective on that. And the earlier we took the decision, the better would it be for us.
But Kofi, I was thinking that at this point, instead of us to be focusing on who is right and who is wrong, this is the time that we should have our writers trying to bring all these stories or the individual perspective together so that we begin to correct what probably we lost in our history books in the past. Shouldn't we rather be doing that?
Absolutely. That is the call that I'm making. That we have to reconcile the and the different viewpoints that we have. Because everyone, we that are sitting around this table, we all acknowledge that everybody played a significant role. You know, the UGCC, the big six that we are talking about, is inclusive of what? Nkrumah. It tells you the interconnectedness of the collective effort of these people. When we talk about the big six, it looks as if that the big six are different people, but it includes Kwame Nkrumah himself.
Yes.
So what it means is that it was a teamwork. Yes, there should be a leader for a team. That is why we have a captain for a football team. That is why we have managers for a team of workers. We have leaders in everywhere that we find ourselves because all of us cannot do anything. And when you heard Nana narrating the historical antecedent, because Nkrumah was the Secretary General, if you are Secretary General, you actually do everything. So you will be at the forefront. You will be the face of whatever group that you are leading.
And immediately he found out that the UGCC leadership were kind of disagreeing from what he believed in. Then he came out. Yeah. And that's how come we now know him to be the front runner.
Let me come in here. When Nkrumah came, they have laid down procedure and principles and ideology that they were going to pursue.
Yes.
But he found out that it was going to be a very slow process.
Slow process, yes.
Okay, and took advantage of agitation at that time. He said, no, these people, they are marking time. But in fact, they have already decided that when the white man left, they were going to full charge.
We will have all structures in place to be able to manage our own affairs as we wanted.
But this man said, no, we can't waste time. You see, time and tide. So he took advantage of the exigencies of the time and came out and he got support from the... In fact, not knowing when he was going around, he was putting structures in place everywhere he goes. Veranda boys and girls were set up. People didn't know. So he started long before they got to know. So at meetings there were misunderstandings. When they said this, who said this? When not knowing he has put certain structures in place, that was, you see, spark of everything. And therefore, when he came out, he had already know what he has put on the ground, and then he took off.
I want to ask this question: if you were, I mean, if you had the opportunity to either follow what the UGCC believed in, a gradual process, and what Kwame Nkrumah believed in. Yeah. You've seen the past. You at least you've witnessed a little bit of what we went through during that time, and now you are seeing what we are going through now. If you had the opportunity to pick which of these sides, which one will you choose?
Well, I think that before you do anything, you set out your priorities. You prioritize certain things. You just don't take off office and say, I'm going to do this. But when Nkrumah was in the US, he was joining this Pan-Africanism over there. He was an agitator, okay, with some Malcolm X and all those guys. So he had in mind that if I get opportunity, but in fact he was in London, and because of what he was doing in London, or Pan-Africanism and what African liberation and things like that, he couldn't even pursue his PhD. And God didn't come to Ghana with PhD because the British didn't like what he was doing. So when he came down, he said, no, this is opportunity time for me to exploit. And in fact, he found that like people were doing certain things. Let's put this in here. Let's do this. I said, no, you're wasting our time. Okay, whether good or bad, let's get rid of these white people because he didn't like them. Honestly, when he was there, because of the treatment he went through, he didn't like. I've been reading some of his books, Conscientism, Pan-Africanism. So I've read about 5 or 6 of his books. He didn't like the white one because he thought the white was the main thorn in the flesh of the black African. And therefore, everywhere that he went, he spoke against them. I know the white don't take kindly to it. So he could not even finish pursuing his course at university in London. So when he came back, so no, let me tell you, because man, get rid of these people.
And I ask again, if you had the opportunity to pick which of the sides, which one will you choose? I
wouldn't rush, honestly. I wouldn't rush. If there's opportunity, in fact, you should have sat down with the people and say, hey, gentlemen, this is my idea. This I want to do. The people, they have done so and so in Africa. Let's get rid of what do we do? Then they bring all their minds on the table and decide. Don't forget, you come and meet people. You come and meet people who have already started the struggle. They have their blueprint. You see, so you cannot just sidestep them and say, I want to do A, B, C, D. No. Let's say it was a coup in a form, a certain coup that he did, and fortunately for him, it worked for him. You see, so you don't rush into something. No, things rushed are not done well.
Kofi, I've heard some of my friends say that if we were probably still, if we hadn't rushed, if we hadn't gained independence so quickly, probably we'll still be spending the pounds, the most expensive currency in the world. Now we have the CD, which is kind of crawling to catch up with these currencies. If you had the opportunity to choose which of these sides, which one will you want to choose? Will you want immediately the independence we got, that we are here now, or will you have wanted a gradual process like the UGCC wanted?
Thank you. You know, when we were in school in the kindergarten days, we were singing, work where you work and play where you play. That is the way to be cheerful and gay. All that you do with your mind. Things done by heart are never done right.
Yeah.
One thing at a time, and that is done right. Let's compare ourselves with South Africa. They were also colonized.
Yeah.
Let's look at their development and bring it to Ghana and put them side by side. Which of these two countries that if you are to choose in terms of development would you choose? So, in as much as we wanted the independence, we should have laid the plan well. We should have gone through the process well. Everything that is done with emotions, you don't do it right.
Yeah.
And that is why we got so many problems. It is not that we didn't want the independence, but we rushed into it. And that has brought us other things, the excesses, and that is why people talk about the negativities of Nkrumah. Because the structures were not in place, because we didn't have the manpower to mine the various institutions, because we didn't have the expertise in certain areas, we rush into it. And at the end of the day, that is the outcome that we have. So, depending upon who is looking at these issues, we all have perspective on various issues. And that informs what we say. But if you look at the issues critically, you could see that we rush. We rush. Because at the end of the day, yes, we are independent of rights, but are we independent in the pocket economically? Because we keep on
going to the same people.
The IMF door has been a revolving door for Ghana. We keep on going there and day in and day out. Economically, we are not independent. Yes, we can talk about political independence. Even cultural and social, there are certain things that we still copy. And the kind of lifestyle that we live here, everything is tied to the white world.
Yes.
We import virtually everything.
Would things have been any different if we probably had done things a bit slower?
Yeah, I believe so. Let me give you another example. Mobutu's, what do you call it, Robert Mugabe. When Ian Smith was there, in fact, Zimbabwe was the food basket of Africa. Dairy products. Okay? But when he came, he said, no, the white man is gold. Asians and commerce leave our country. Fine. They left. He gave the farmlands to the Africans. What's happening there now? Their currency is moved. Worthless currency on the continent of Africa. Okay? So the white man, I don't know how God created the black and the white. Especially the British. Whatever they say their food, they prosper. I don't know how God created them. And it's a fact. You see, so even though we wouldn't have loved to live under colonialism for all this while, because some of the countries that were talking about, a lot of lives were lost and other things. Yes, but they are developed. We didn't want that way, but they said that let us put certain structures in place. The civil service, the schools, in fact, the schools that come from the belt. That, how do you call it, I forgot the name they give it, Education Trust or whatever they call it. It was initiated by Georgesburg. Kolebu, Georgesburg. Tamaport, Georgesburg. Takwadi Georgesburg. Even as far as, how do you call it, Guidam. So Georgesburg put a certain master plan in place that they were going to do for Ghana. So most of the things that Nkrumah did was coming from the British themselves. Okay? So now he was saying, today, if you didn't mind, you go back to the same people. Nobody goes to the same people. Training. In fact, when you have a degree in London or UK, the US, or people volunteer more than Legon.
Yes.
Why?
You come down and they give you the best of jobs.
Yes. When you do medical care, you go to those countries to seek medical care. The same politicians, their wives and children, they go outside there to get better, perceived better medical care than what is happening at Kolebu and Kongonachi. So what have we done to ourselves? You see? So we are saying that, look, somebody asked me to put this in being. He said, we live in this country, we have dollarized our economy. You go to Legon, you hire a room, you pay dollars. You buy a plot at cantonments or whatever, you pay dollars.
Some of our kids are even paying dollars for their school fees.
Exactly. Their schools.
I would say we're independent. Are we?
Yes.
It's just
we don't respect our own currency.
Exactly. It's by word of mouth. Most of the buildings that we see in Accra and elsewhere are built by people who have traveled outside Ghana.
I know some people who have built here, but they will make sure that they import all the building materials from outside.
Yes. So, you see, we are taking ourselves and laughing. We have done nothing. So, maybe those people who are so obsessed with Kwame Nkrumah has done this for Ghana, so what do we get from it? At the end of the day, if you can't put food on the table, yes, he has got independence for us, and so what? What have we gotten from it? Is that merely, it's just like the prodigal son in the Bible who said, Daddy, I want to go away, I'm mature, give me my portion of the lesson. He gave him. What happened? He went the haters now and came back. You have done the same thing. You have gone back to the people. The same people that drove away. You see, so imagine be proud of somebody having got independence. What we have done, in fact, we have failed as a nation. Let's put that way. Because if we look at what is happening, IMF, we have gone there 17 times. In fact, Kwame Nkrumah was the first person to take us IMF before he left.
Wow.
Yes. And when he developed the CD from 144% to, because I saw the shillings, those times, the shilling I think was green, and the 20% or 24% was with the whole, some pesos with the whole, and that small 5 pesos or 6 pesos, they call it 6 pesos. I saw them. When he changed the currency and put his head on it, that was the beginning of our woes as a country. The CD has not been to be able to stand on its feet up to date. Today they say I'm coming. Cities, 15 cities or 16 cities, which is 160,000 Ghana old cities. Not, but because there are knockoffs on zeros. It is 160,000 old cities to $1.
And I'll come to you. Let me just pick some few messages. This one is coming from Mavis Mana. She thinks that it should be founders. They're asking like the founders, as in plural founders, to founders include the big success. To include the big success. And this one is from Deaf Minister Sam. He thinks that, he said, please let's be honest, to say Dr. Nkrumah is not the founder of Ghana is totally false. Are we jealous? Don't confuse Ghana with Gold Coast. And like Nana said, in football we have 11 players and other good players who give passes. either of the strikers, but when they score, the one who scores the goal is the one who takes credit. So I think he's also trying to say that Kwame Nkrumah might not have done the work alone, but once he led it to the final destination, he needs to get the credit. This one is CW, and I'm reading this because I disagree with you. He thinks that we should have invited people who were born during that time. If you were following from the beginning, Nana Foko is actually somebody who has witnessed. He was born around that time,
yeah.
and even if none of them were born around that time, we have the history books. We have all read the books. We have listened to stories. You just don't have to be born during those days to know what happened during the time. So keep on listening, and maybe if you listen to some of the things he says, you understand that he actually witnessed a lot of them. He's not just saying from the books as he's saying. And this one says, this one is General One. He thinks that the Founders' Day in Ghana have nothing to do with our current economic challenges. It's our bad leadership style in Ghana and Africa as a whole. I don't know whether you agree with him. This one said, good morning, Madam, and your guests. It's a nice discussion. Watching you live from Nungwa C5. Thank you very much, Godfred. Continue watching us and then share your views with us. Take the advantage to learn some history, especially if you are also a bit confused as to who Ghana's founder is actually is. Nana, I want to come back to you. All these debates, is it shaping our history? Is it confusing our youth the more? Where do we stand with all these different sides?
I think the youth is now caught between two war fronts, with salvos coming for both sides. But I believe the people who saw or who were involved in the independence struggle, some of them are still existing. I can mention somebody like Professor Michael Quay. There's a lot of history.
Yes.
And there are some people who have a lot of history.
Yes.
All of them to come together. Okay? Not one faction. All of them should bring their minds together and set the record straight and let the matter rest. Because whatever you see, if we say it, the UP tradition will kick against it. If we go right, the CPP also kick against it. Because each of them want their voice to be heard. So what prevents them from the two factions coming together and setting the record straight? So that those who know history and who don't know history from UP and the CPP will come together. No, because of what is going on, it is not healthy. Let us try and set the record straight. So they write and put it down so that the generation yet unborn also understand. Because the youth doesn't know whether to go to left or to go to right. Because there's some kind of misunderstanding between the two factions. I think that would be the best thing to solve the problem.
Kofi, if you were a member of a family member of any of these individuals and you hear debates like this, how will it make you feel?
You see, a nation that does not recognize its leaders is not dying for. It's not worth dying for, I must say. So it is important to recognize the contributions of anybody that plays a role in the development of our country. Today, we have a president, but the president alone is not the one developing the country. He has a cabinet, he has ministers, he has DCEs. We, at the assemblymen, members also at the local level, everyone is contributing. Besides even the government, there are other people that are coming out with their perspective on governance. When you come to parliament, we have even the opposition and the governing lawmakers. So if each and everyone is recognized in the development of our country, I do not think that issues of this nature will crop up. Let us try to recognize the contributions of everybody, no matter what the infinitesimal contribution or big it is. It is important that we acknowledge this and have a balanced history for our country. Other than that, like Nana said, people will be caught in the middle and they will not know their way out of the situation. let us as a country sit down, fashion out our history well, bring into perspective all the various viewpoints so that we have a balanced history. Yes. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah may be a hero, but he got the contributions of others to the attainment of independence.
Somebody might even say that he came in when the food was almost cooked.
Well, but his role can also not be discounted.
Of course, yeah.
And therefore, everybody's contribution must be recognized. That is all that we are calling for. It is not as if that Nkrumah alone did everything and that we attained the independence. There were movements around. People organized. Local people. There were even the drafting of the constitution for Ghana was done by the UDC. Because the people that we mentioned, the William Oforiata, the J.B. Danquad, the Edward Akufo-Addo, they were lawyers, like Nana said, and they knew what the law was. So they crafted, and then the various institutions that we established, they helped in establishing those institutions. And they become functional institutions. And it was as a result of that was where Nkrumah got his governance from. So we cannot discount the contributions of others. That is what we need to do. And by doing that, we'll be able to move forward and move away from this kind of debate.
How relevant are the ideals of Ghana's founders, I mean, all of them, in today's political climate?
Okay, well, let me say this. Just like the prophet I gave, I've given birth to a child. Maybe I've died, or I'm so poor, you have taken the child and brought the child up to become a human being. You can't take the credit alone. Both of us, because this is my own child, but you have brought him or her up. Kudos. So both sides of the divide must accept and come together. You see, what was the question we were asking?
I was asking that, I mean, these founders, they had ideals, they had perspective, they had, I mean, a context in a way that they a vision for the country.
Okay.
Today's political leaders, our current political leadership, are we even drawing lessons from some of these vision and ideals from these founders?
Yeah, okay, Kwame Nkrumah was a very dynamic and charismatic leader, no two ways about it. He had a vision for the whole country and Africa in general. But the things that he did, some of them he rushed in doing them. If you look back, I think certain things that he did were unnecessary these days. Setting up factories across the country. I remember very well. My uncle was working at Farmers Council. Is it Farmers Council or whatever? Yeah, Farmers Council. Or no, sometimes I've forgotten the name that you can give it. They go to work there, they sit down, they don't do anything. I don't demand. They take salary. He instituted some pipes and some, how do you call it, telephone booths around the whole country, free of charge. And Busa was telling that, Kwame, what we are doing, we come back and pay for it. Because there's nothing in this world. No. He did it. Which, in the end, didn't benefit the people. Some of the factories that set up, you couldn't use them. Okay? In fact, those days, if you are not bearing the card of CPP, it's difficult for you to get employment. Certain position you won't get. And if you are found to be anti-Kwame Nkrumah, you'll be pursued. Is that how you run a country? You cannot run a country like that. So I pray that we never get one party state in this country again. Because when you do that, if you look at Africa, all the countries have been ruled by one man. When the man is kicked out or dies, the country goes into disarray. For instance, look at Libya. Yes. Look at Congo DR. Okay? And other countries. When one man stays in power for very long because he surrounds himself with his cohorts and henchmen or henchmen.
Like-minded individuals.
So when he's no more there, because the money belongs to that people, the country suffers. Because the individuals have gotten all the monies. You see, so some of the things that he did were forward-looking, others were backward-looking, as far as I'm concerned.
But have we learned lessons from these things? Because today we do have some factories that, like the Commander Sugar Factory, where we kept hearing that it's because we didn't have raw materials. That's how come it was difficult to really function properly. Do you think that our political leaders have drawn lessons from some of these mistakes? And
I don't think Commander Factory is a quite relevant factory. Initially, I think all these things were considered. But I had the Minister of Trade come to brief us at the press, and the farmers around the surroundings said they will provide the sugar cane. But I believe the kind of sugar cane they were going to provide was not good enough for the factory. That's how they got a problem. Okay, so they couldn't get the quantity and the quality of sugar cane that they wanted for the factory. It wasn't a bad idea at all. Some of the factories, yes, when they started, they were doing well, like the ceramic factory that they have some set up. Fantastic. The jute factory in Kumasi, fantastic. Those times we had some cows and other things in abundance. I wonder. But you see, it's unfortunate that as we grow along, things begin to get worse. I don't know. Because initially, certain things were put in place that the country was doing very well. When I came to Accra, for instance, those times, you don't struggle for car. You go to, how do you call it, Orion, no, how do you call it, Opera. Every bus has been earmarked and labeled, how do you call it, Newtown, Labadi, Dansuma. You go and sit down, the bus will come, you take it home. When you are traveling outside, STC, when I started secondary school, those days, STC will take you to whatever you want to go to. Today, things are giving way to, I don't know the challenges we are facing.
Kofi, why do you think it's so? Nana says that it looks like even when we take good initiatives, it comes back and it backfires on us.
That one is an attitude issue. It's an attitude issue. But before I'll come to that, you were talking about lessons that our current leadership, whether they've learned anything or not. I would say that yes, they are still pursuing some of the ideas of Nkrumah and co and his people. Now Ghana is leading the effort for integration, that is African integration, and we are hosting after Secretariat here. It is the way out of the vision of Nkrumah. He wanted African unity. And still that idea is being pursued by the current leadership. In terms of infrastructure that were started by Nkrumah, this government and the previous government, they have all continued to put up infrastructure development for our country. And that is lessons and then things that they've learned from those leaders. And you can talk about the youth empowerment program, the various institutions that have been strengthened, the anti-corruption agencies and the rest of them. So you could see clearly that, yes, we are on the path of building our nation well. So, yes, they learned something out of it. There might be one or two issues that we may have. Still, because we are a nation, a developing nation, we'll be struggling with some of the teething problems. And one of them is what you mentioned about the sugarcane thing. So, all in all, yes, we are on the right track. We are building a nation, and it's a gradual process, and we will get there one day. But coming to your question about the problems of its attitude now, you know, the way you look at things or the way you think is what you will be. Nobody can do anything beyond what he thinks. Until we see things in a positive way, we'll continue to do the negatives. That is why I love the idea that anything that we do can be possible. That is the focus. That is how we have to shape or give the training. We need to train our people to have the right attitude, to work towards nationalism, towards patriotism, towards anything that we are doing in this country. Other than that, we can educate the people well, they will have the right skills, they will have everything, but they will have the wrong attitude. And that is what it appears is lacking in the kind of education that we are giving out.
Nana, we are talking about our history be restructured, brought together, bringing all the pieces and the parts together. how do you think the younger generation can understand this, especially from our educational institutions? Do we have enough history in our schools? Do we have to have a major course for the student to be able to understand and come to terms with some of these important parts of our past?
Yes, let me start. Kwame Nkrumah started something we call the Young Pioneer and Nkrumah Ideological Institute. If you had made it Ghanaian Ideological Institute and what everybody in there, because what he was doing that if you are not in the CPP, you are pursued. But in this world, you cannot box all of us into listen. We have different perspectives and different thinking. So if you are set up the Ghanaian ideology that this is what I want Ghana to go, everybody should be on board. Bring your ideas, bring your inputs. Let's put together and make Ghana listen. I think it would be the best thing. Because those days, you had a young pioneer, like I was saying, if you're not part of it, you have to run away from your dear life. Because he thought you were anti his government. But we shouldn't run a country like that. If all of us will be conscientized and our minds have been brought to bear, this is where I want Ghana to be, I want Ghana to go. And I bought into it. I think we've been somewhere now. But because he did divide and rule, pick and choose, it didn't work out. So I think I can also try something, self-reliance and things like that. Along the way, it didn't work out. So I think that, like you're saying, let's just put something in our curriculum for the young ones from the beginning, so that they will imbibe into it. And if you go to America and you ask an American child, they say God first, America second. God first, America second. But we have that in DC. We are so divided politically, and that's not helping the country. Somebody wrote a book, I think Odike also, what they're talking about union government. Ajampo started, like he too, he didn't see the opinion of the people. If all the people have brought their minds to bear on what he was looking for, perhaps some of these things would have been warded off. We would have been facing some of the problems that we're facing. We will have to move together as one people, one nation, because even though we are come from different backgrounds, different ethnic groups and things like that, but we all have Ghana as our focus. So something is to be done from now. Maybe, I don't know, they are doing some irrigational reforms. It must come into the thinking of those who are doing the reforms and say, no, we are so divided. We are so sporadic. Let us try to do something so that we all come together with one common destiny. Like I said, Nkrumah tried, didn't work because of the way he did it. At that point, it didn't work because of the way he did it. But as a people, I spoke to Professor Emeritus Kwesi Sapon of Kumasi. He said, until we are able to come together as one people, one common ideology, and we are going the way we are going, we not see, because he also has I think a routine proposal for some of these things that we can do to bring the country and all the minds together so that we can see one thing as one thing, not people seeing that differently. Okay? I think that's the way we can go. We must start from those generations who are coming up. Those of us who are already old, we are just facing away. But those who are coming behind us, we must inculcate some of these things with them, and then maybe the country can go forward.
Kofi, how will you suggest that the celebration of the Founders' Day in future, will you suggest some changes to ensure that we finally put to rest and begin to accept the fact that we have a lot of people who gave different contributions towards our independence? Will you suggest any changes to the way we celebrate it?
No, the kind of celebration that we have currently is to celebrate all of them.
Okay.
And I think we have to keep that so that we recognize the various contributions that were made by the individuals.
Okay.
Any kind of change will mean that we want to make one a hero than the rest of them. So the current one should be maintained and continue with it. By recognizing the various contributions. There could be even other people that whose name have not been mentioned among the big six. They all might have contributed to it. Let us bring on board these people. Let's go into history, find out whoever did what. Because understand, the flag of Ghana was designed by somebody else. The national anthem was actually written by someone. All these people must be recognized the day of independence. And that is what I think we have to do. Recognizing them will inspire the current generation to do something for Mother Ghana. Other than that, if I see that my grandparents were not given recognition for their role played, why would I give of my best today? Because I will think that it may not be recognized in the future or when I'm gone. So let us recognize and acknowledge the contributions of people, celebrate it. And if we celebrate that one, it will inspire the younger generation to take it up.
Thank you very much, guys. Unfortunately, this is where time will allow us to be. Just before we go, I got two messages. I cannot go without reading them. This one is from Kobe, and he thinks that Dr. Kwame Nkrumah fought a good fight for the nation, Ghana. But our current leaders, both NPP and NDC, are not doing as much as expected. This one is from Ameko. He's saying that I've been saying this, our foundation was weak. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was the beginning of our trouble. I will always say this. He did us more wrong than good. This is the Reporters Roundtable. We've been discussing Founders Day and Founders Day, 21st September or 4th August. Join us again. I've been discussing with my colleague journalists. I nearly went off without acknowledging them. Nano Poku is a chief reporter at Daily Searchlight, and Nana Kofi Edu is an editor at Daily Guide. They've been discussing with me this morning.
The editor will kill me.
No, I mean, you are, okay, let's say a senior journalist at Daily Guide. I'm grateful for your time, and I'm grateful for your messages. I hope you've learned a thing or two from Founders Day. Join us again next week. Stay blessed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Gumda still there?
Yes, he is.
Hey, that's fun.